Hey guys, this is the Firebird FH21 made by Gonzo. D2 blade, G10 handle scales, liner lock, and it flips. That is the reason why I got this knife. Because it's another flipper from Gonzo, much like this one. Now, I initially thought I was going to work with this knife a bit and then tell you my thoughts about it. And it turns out that I like the FH11 more. And a lot of people have asked me, well, would you show and talk about why? So I said, yeah, sure. Now, I got this knife about 3 or 4 weeks ago. The same online store where I bought this one from. The guys there are very nice and they're very passionate about knives. So they let me know this was coming in. I said, send me one over, make it the bluish scales because it comes in green, bluish, and black. So I said, I have green, I know black, let's try this. It's actually a pretty nice color. Now, from the get-go, it wasn't as smooth as the FH11. It was smooth, had no problems deploying it, but it wasn't. After about 2 days of playing with it, it got to be very smooth. Then, after about 2.5, 3 weeks of playing with it, I noticed something. It had a bit of blade play. I didn't do much cutting with it. I would cut everything that I could. You know, I don't have an outdoor sort of job, so some cardboard, plastic zip ties, paper, food, whatever. But I did play with it a lot, so it got a bit of blade play. And I noticed I could take this apart easily. For this, if I wanted to take it apart, I would have to use 2 Torx screwdrivers and then try to, because this one will rotate freely. So I just left it as it was the first day, and it still has not loosened up. And I did do a lot of work with this. I never cleaned it, never had to retighten it. This knife impressed me very much. So that's what I noticed with this. Of course, this can be avoided by putting Loctite or Teflon tape or something. I don't like to do that. I prefer to not do that. Even in cases like with my Benchmade 940, where I had that problem constantly, eventually I got a new set of screws, and now the problem is solved. So I don't think you have to use Loctite on the screws. Might have been a bad choice because I've just finished cutting about 15 minutes worth of cardboard. I threw the knife on the bed, what I wished for, a number of times, and about a couple of times it landed on the floor. And I just noticed before turning on the camera that I'm missing a screw. Now, some of you might have known that I'm missing a couple of screws, but this one I just noticed. So I don't know when it happened. Could have happened now, or it could have happened some other time. Not a big issue for me. This is a $20, $25 knife. Really not an issue. Now, the FH11, awesome knife. I look at Gonzos as being great working knives. This one being one of my favorites, the G745. This is an early model. It just says Gonzo and no Firebird and nothing else. This knife has been through a lot. It's a great working knife, and I'm not sorry for it. You know, I hammered on the back of the blade with a pole of an axe. I batoned it. I cut drywall and dirty plastic bottles, and they're working knives. Now, this one is a working knife. It has a thicker grind and a thicker blade, but it can do a lot of work. And the question whether this is D2 or not has been solved. One of my viewers actually told me, hey, look at this guy. He tested it and it is D2. Send it to a lab. Great. I don't care if it's D2 or not. It does a good job. So this became fun to play with EDC knife that can also handle some tough jobs. That's why the grind is thicker. And that's why it feels so solid in hand. And I was kind of expecting the same thing from this, only with a different design. It is no doubt about it. The grind is a bit thicker than for some other knives, also than for this one. This one has a thicker grind. The edge angle is a bit more abrupt. A thinner grind and a shallower edge angle would do it a great service. This knife is a bit smaller than I thought it would be. I don't know, I didn't watch any videos, but this one fits in my hand very well. The shape of the handle and everything. Now, this space is quite large here, and when you squeeze it in your hand and when you cut hard materials with it, you will feel it. That's true for most folders. This one doesn't quite accommodate my hand. I don't have huge hands. Large would be the glove size here in Europe. It might be, I don't know, medium in the States. But it doesn't really, my small finger comes right across this beak. Now, if I wanted to improve that, I could sand this down. For EDC tasks, I don't think that's necessary. I cut about 15 minutes worth of cardboard with it, and yes, I could feel this, but I look at this as an EDC knife. You're probably not going to need that. What you could do, like I said, a thinner grind, a shallower edge angle to help you out with EDC stuff. But if you still want to keep the robustness, sort of, just leave it as it is. I did not sharpen this knife when I got it. I stropped it a few times and I started cutting stuff with it. For me, it was more a fun knife than anything else. If I ever decide to modify it, I probably will, but I don't see that in its future. Now, I started cutting cardboard with a paper slicing sharp edge. Not really shaving sharp, clean paper slicing. That's how I ended it with 15 minutes of cardboard. Shouldn't do much. And Ganzo has a decent enough heat treatment for their 440C so far for this D2, and I didn't expect anything else. No chips, no nothing. Now, it's not a clean cut. Like I said, I did not sharpen this knife since I got it, merely stropped it a few times, and sure, it's not the smoothest of cuts. I mean, you can maybe see it, but it's a clean cut. This is a good edge for working with it. Most people will be impressed by something this sharp. Whenever I let somebody cut something with my knife, I tell them it's sharp, and they're impressed, even by this. So this is how it came after working. I didn't strop it for a lot of times. Just, I don't even remember how many. I just wanted to see how it does. This is a thing that I like to do nowadays. Now, fit and finish, I would say, is great. Design looks good. One thing I did not like, even from the pictures, was this lanyard hole. I thought this idea was great. This little spacer here, and this standoff tube, or you could thread a lanyard through if you are so inclined to have a lanyard on your pocket knife. I think this was a great idea. This, not so much. I would have liked to see a full handle. I thought this was going to bother me. It didn't. What bothered me was this beak here. You can fix that if you are so inclined. For me, not an issue. But if you have larger hands than me, my hand, let me just have about 4 inches across. So if you have a larger hand than that, then this is going to be too small. If you have a smaller hand than that, this might just be comfortable for you. Now, this can be fixed. This was not an issue. I just don't like the look of it, but I wanted to buy this knife. Nobody forced me to. I just wanted to see how it felt. It feels a bit chubbier in hand. It doesn't feel as comfortable as the FH11. And there is another difference, something that I dislike a bit more than the other two factors. 1, 2. Number 3, you see, for the FH11, whenever I flick it out and go to close it, the flipper will hit my thumb, and you can see I can sit here, right, under the blade. I can sit further away, and the flipper will still hit my fingernail. Not so the case for the FH21. If I go under the blade, not an issue. If I go a bit further, it will swing and hit my fingernail. So if you're not careful, moving your finger out of the way too fast, you might take a chunk out of your finger. I think this could have been avoided. So this is one thing that I do not like that much. And the other thing, for me, this is actually the biggest thing of them all, the pocket clip. But it's the same pocket clip as with the FH11. Yes, and if you're going to make a deep carry pocket clip, have the decency to move it as far towards the butt of the knife as possible. This I don't like. Now, great fit and finish, great action. It locks very solidly. I did not do any spine whack tests. I don't do that. I don't care about that. But just like with the FH11, I can flick it out with just about any finger. Don't really have to ploy it. Very comfortable to play with. If you're gonna cut harder materials, yes, a thinner grind, shallower edge angle. You know, this might bother you. Work on it, and so and such. But this gets me a bit, yeah. This bothers me because the FH11 will sit low in the pocket, and I like that. It could have been lower, but this is just a good position for the pocket clip. It does not bother me. Now, with the FH21, the pocket clip bothers me a bit in hand. I can feel it much more than with the FH11. And when in pocket, it sticks out this much. By comparison, this one will stick out about this much. So if you're gonna have a deep carry pocket clip, move it as far away towards the butt of the knife as possible. And because of the hollow handle scales, this just feels very, very good in hand. And this, I can feel the pocket clips there. It didn't bother me while cutting. What bothered me was this and the gap. For the gap, it's true for the FH11. It also, you can feel it, but not the best choice. But honestly, $25 knife, EDC or working knife, it's your choice. Very fun to play with. I mean, that's for sure. So for an EDC, it's a great knife. For working knives, I prefer the Axis lock. That's just one of my personal preferences. Some people like to say, hey, there are better locks out there. Yes, I know. One of my favorite locks is the Triad lock. Right, just awesome. But this one's easier to play with, should you be so inclined to. And should you damage it like I did with this one by hammering on the back of it, I have a bit of a blade play, no side to side, a bit of forward backward blade play. It's still functional, and I have a lot of Gonzos which I abused in this way, and no issues with them. For $25, if I were to choose between these two, I would choose the FH11. It'll fit my hand, bigger hands, smaller hands. But if you like the design, this is not a bad choice. You can, if you're gonna have a very, very demanding job where you actually need a knife, maybe you should look towards something bigger and more comfortable. But if you have a regular office type of job and you just love flippers, and for you, like for me, knives are tools, but also pocket jewelry, toys, then this is not a bad choice. And the bluish color, actually pretty decent. So guys, if you have any questions or comments about the FH21, please let me know in the comment section. I'll try to get to them as soon as possible. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was a bit of a comparison, and it is a bit long because apparently I talk a lot, screws loose and everything. Missing screws, actually. And like I said, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it gave you something, well, maybe you didn't hear it in some other place. Thanks for watching, and as always, I wish you all a great day.